Welcome to the Elevate the Vibe podcast, bringing you juicy convos with thought leaders discussing the wild world of parenting.
Hidely hodily neighbors, it's a serious one today. We're going to talk about vaccines and vaccine passports here on the Elevate the Vibe podcast. I'm your host, Jason Berlin, and with me is the lovely Katie Berlin.
The reason that we thought this conversation would be interesting is that there was an event near, let's back up. We live in Los Angeles, and recently Los Angeles has implemented a vaccine passport requirement where certain establishments can ask you to show that you've been vaccinated. If for some reason you haven't been vaccinated, I think there's also like show that you've had a COVID test in a
Right.
negative COVID test in the last 24 or 72 hours, something like that, like if you're a child. So there was an event that was being hosted at a small regional airport near where we live. And Jason and I were like, that would be really cool. It would be so cool to check it out. And then we read through some of the admittance information. It's like, tickets are whatever, $20 or whatever it is. Vaccine passports must be shown, and children under the age of 12 need to have a negative COVID test, whatever, in the last 72 hours. And I was like, okay, well, this sounded cool until that part. Because do I feel like trying to take my child to an event that's supposed to be fun for him, but then forcing him to go get a COVID test prior to this just so he can go to this event? No, to me, no, it's not worth it. I'm not interested in that. And I'm also not interested in feeling like I have to prove that I don't have COVID or that I've had vaccines to be able to go enter somewhere. I feel like that is complete horse shit. So I'm like, if somebody has a vaccine, great. If they don't have a vaccine, there's a reason that they don't. And this really bothers me.
And it's like an outdoor thing too. So it's like, why do we're already social distancing and masking up. It's like, come on, we've been like 2 years in this shit now. It's like, people are going to do what they want anyways. They're going to fudge vaccine passport information. And it's like, is the person going to just really do diligence on every single person's, items that they bring in? Are you going to trust all of their COVID tests? Like, people cheat on shit all the time. It's why you can't trust people with any of this stuff, fundamentally.
But it's bigger than that. It's a freedom issue. It's a rights issue. It's like, how far do you want to take something like that? And if you implement it and people comply, then how far do you take it? I mean, there's already vaccine requirements for kids to go to public schools, and there's a lot of parents that have problems with that and they choose to homeschool their kids. And I definitely want to have some parents who homeschool on the podcast. So if you know anyone, reach out to us, let us know, because I would love to hear their thoughts, if they do it for this reason or not. I just would love to hear that story of why they chose to homeschool and how it's going for them. Somebody that does it now, somebody that's choosing to do it now. But anyway, this really, I think, is like you kind of like open up Pandora's box a little bit with this, because it's like, well, then what else is required in the future?
Yeah, and on that post that advertised the event, there were probably 30 or 40 people who were all equally pissed off about it too. It's not just a couple people who had a problem with it. It's a widespread issue.
This conversation could go many different places, because when you start to touch on something like this, you definitely get into the realm of politics. But coming at this from the position as a parent, I just find it strange to think that, like, to let my 3-year-old into an outdoor event, I have to have him tested to be able to do that. I understand that some people think like it is for the greater safety of everyone, so that everyone there can feel safer. I say that because I don't think anyone feels safe right now. I mean, it's proven that these vaccines do not keep you from getting COVID. So I don't know if anyone feels safe even just by having a vaccine, but it just seems strange to me. It's like, people have certain reasons that they choose not to do things. And I don't feel like pushing those people out and kind of segregating them and making them feel bullied into making these choices. I just feel like it's just wrong. I don't know. I'm not on board.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're really high risk, or if you're around someone who's high risk, you're probably not going to a large event anyways. So it's like, what's the point?
Yeah. So we know that these are touchy subjects, but I think they're also important subjects. I mean, there's always jokes of people saying like, well, then I'm going to move to Florida, because Florida's like the complete opposite of LA in this situation. Or California, there's just been a lot of heat on California, I think, for how they've handled a lot of what's transpired in the past few months. And there's people that are leaving the state because of that. When it comes to adults making decisions for their bodies, it's one thing. And then it's like if parents feel forced into making permanent life-altering decisions about their children's body, it feels hard. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do, because as children, you want to protect them. You want to do the best thing you can as a parent. But then I want them to make their own decisions in their life about their health and their choices when it's time. I mean, do I want like polio spread around? Fuck no. Like, do I want to be the cause of a measles outbreak? But I also don't want to have to go around and prove like, okay, we're all safe to enter here. Like, I don't know. It feels weird.
Well, Vibe Hive, why don't you tell us your thoughts on our latest post? Leave us a comment and we can chat about it.
Peace. Hey there, Vibe Hive babes. If this podcast has brought you any value, please rate and review on your favorite listening platform. And if you're feeling really generous, share with a friend. Visit us at elevatethevibe.co for show notes on this episode and previous episodes. This podcast is intended to educate, entertain, and inspire. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, or substitute for professional medical advice. Please consult your healthcare provider with any questions you may have. And as always, thank you for joining us to elevate the vibe.